My name is Flo Fu. I'm a musician, director. I love aviation so much. People started to call me AirFlo.
And we do have a trike repair place. We do trike training. We do, trike exams because I'm an examiner for the FAA on the trikes. And we also just do a lot of fun stuff with the trikes. We have a big trike party every year called Pre-Osh Trike Fest just before Oshkosh. And we did that just before we got here at Oshkosh. And now we are here on the last day, well, Saturday, which is basically the last day of Oshkosh. And just enjoying the weather, had a great week. And it's just been a fun ride. Hopefully we can keep it going. Thank you. I always like to remember that your dreams are the opposite of your fears. So when I was a little kid, my fears were getting buried by my 9 brothers, because I had 9 brothers and they liked to play football. So I'd end up on the bottom of the pile and I couldn't breathe. So I needed to go somewhere where I could get a lot more air. So I would start climbing trees. I would climb trees as high as I could get on the tree. And I'd even be up there in storms. My mom would have to call me down. I think she was worried lightning might hit the tree. But anyway, that's when I first started liking being very high. That started leading me to playing with model aircraft, building models, building model rockets, building model balloons, did a lot of kite flying, and then started making my own airplanes out of large pieces of cardboard and jumping off of barns with those. Eventually, I got distracted by motorcycles and started riding dirt bikes for a while. And I was on a trip to Colorado out to see the mountains and drive our dirt bikes in the logging roads up in the mountains. And there was a kite in the sky, and I saw the kite, and I said to my friends, "Hey, there's a kite up there, but there's no string on it." And then I said, "Wait a minute, there's a guy hanging from that." And when I saw, I go, "I got to do that." So as soon as I got back from that trip, I found out how to buy a hang glider, and my friends one of my friends went in with me on buying a small hang glider, and we took it to the Warren Dunes in Michigan. They have like a 300-foot dune there, and we were all ready to take off with it, but we were too afraid. We didn't have any training, so we went to the local liquor store, and we bought a 6-pack of beer, and we both came back, drank 3 beers real quick, and then we both flew the hang glider down the hill. And first time I flew it, I made it all the way down the hill. I was porpoising all the way down, but I made it, so I was pretty happy about that. So then we went to flying that, and I got another hang glider that was better, and I started taking that out to like Colorado and different places to fly that. But I got tired of driving to these distant places for flying, and sometimes you'd get there and the wind's going the wrong direction, so you drove a day to get there, you sit there for a day, you can't fly, you drive, so you wasted 3 days. So one day I'm looking through my hang glider magazine. It was called Ground Skimmer. Then they changed the name to Glider Rider. It said, there was an advertisement that said, fly the flatlands. So I looked at that for a while, and then I all of a sudden decided I was going to take all my savings I had at the time. It was $1,350. And I sent in for a kit from John Moody and Larry Morrow. They were selling the Easy Riser with the Moody Power Pack on it. And it was so I built this Easy Riser ultralight. It took me 6 months to build that thing over the winter. It was in 1977 or 76. And it was the first one in Illinois. It was their 13th kit that they sold. And I started flying that with power and also as a hang glider. You could fly it off hills as a hang glider too. It was a tailless biplane, so you can control it with wingtip rudders, and pitch control was controlled with a hang tubes. So I flew that for about 5 years, but then I started making enough money to actually, because I was managing printing plants, making enough money to get flying lessons. So I got flying lessons in a Cessna 152 from this little guy named Denny Farlander. He was my instructor, and got my license in that 152, and then I went out and bought a Cessna Cardinal, and I flew that for a while. I really enjoyed it. And I was flying that, and I started making more money. So I went and bought a brand new helicopter called the Hughes 300. It was made by Schweitzer Aircraft at the time. And I started flying helicopter for a while, but I had it on a lease back with a company that was using it for training and power line patrol and that. And after a couple years, they had a training accident with it, so they totaled the helicopter. And I took the money that I got from that, and I bought a Cessna 210, which, you know, it's a 6-passenger retractable gear. And we took our instrument rating. My brother's United Airlines captain now, but him and I both got our instrument rating together at that time. We both had the same instructor. But then when I had the 210, I got transferred to Belgium for my job because our company was expanding, and I had to set up a printing plant in Belgium. And that at that time, I didn't know what I was going to do there. I found a place I could rent helicopters there, which I did. But I also started looking around at the aviation scene there, and trikes were super popular at that time. It's in the early 90s. And so I got my first trike flight in Belgium, which was near the Waterloo Monument where Napoleon was defeated. It was at a little field called Basie T. They had 40 trikes there and about 6 fixed-wing airplanes. And I got a couple lessons, but I didn't learn much, but I learned enough that I really loved the trike. It was just, it blew me away how well it maneuvered and how, just the open air feeling and just the way it flew. And I just fell in love with it. I couldn't do much about it because in another year or so I got transferred back to the U.S. and I was just thinking about the trike, and in the meantime I got a powered paraglider. That was like 92, 93. I learned how to fly it in Las Vegas, and I flew that for a couple of years, but then I finally got on the internet when it was becoming more popular, and I found the trikes, and I found that Air Creation trikes, which I was really impressed with when I was in Belgium. They're French built. They were available, and they were talking about them on the internet, and they had a U.S. representative in Boston named Rob Albright. So I called Rob up, and he just happened to be going on a trip to France a couple of months later, and he asked me if I wanted to go. So I went. I ordered, when I got there, we got to test fly them. I ordered 2 trikes, one for a friend of mine and one for me, and got them back in early 97. And then I started flying it, and then 98 got my instructor rating, and I started giving lessons. And I think since then I've gone through about 14 trikes. I mainly, after a few years, I switched to airborne because I didn't like the distribution setup that Air Creation ended up with in the United States. But I could still sell Air Creation as long as it wasn't their ELSA or SLSA. But then during COVID, Airborne went out of business. I mean, well, they didn't go out of business, but they stopped making trikes. So I ended up transitioning back towards Air Creation, but I also sell Larry Mednick's trikes, Revolt and some of his trikes. And I just took a flight in this Air Creation Skyper Bush. It's really made for off-airport operations, as you can see by the big tires. And we had a nice flight this morning around the Oshkosh circuit. But we're glad we got it done early because there's going to be about 50 planes in this circuit this morning, I think, and it's going to get crazy up there. So we got ours done early. We're out of the way.
What's Air Creation Trike special about?
It's made in France, and it's made by a company that's been making these trikes since the 80s. A lot of experience. They build beautiful wings, beautiful trikes. They hold up very well. They hold their resale value very well.